Hey, I'm Robin.
And I'm Dana.
This is the Robin and Dana Talk Real Show. We have been talking real off the air, and we wanted to talk about money, and we want to talk about the abuse of money and
Mhm.
taxation. Isn't that fun? Aren't we taxed enough? You know, here in this country, we are going through a process of elimination. I really believe that our president, who knows so much more than I do, Dana, you know so much more as well. But I wanted to open up with Caroline Levitt, who was talking about USAID and the abuses that they have done. And you said something off the air. You said, do you remember when we were in Israel and
Yeah.
there was a
Yeah.
sign?
Yeah. So they're in West Bank areas. I'm sure anyone who travels to Israel has seen them. The USAID sign, building project funded by USAID. And the signs are like the paint's peeling and it's all faded. And so I was asking people, so what's the building project? And there's like, there's no building project, it's just a sign. I was like, well, where's the money for the building project? I don't know, somewhere.
You just led me to this video, and it's a quick video, but I wanted you guys to hear it. So here we go. And why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, 70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, 47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, 32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap. And I know the American people don't either. And that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. She's so succinct. She packed a lot into that about Elon Musk being tasked
The tasker.
to tell the truth, to reveal the lie. And you and I have been talking about that forever. And I, to go back to USAID in Israel, it's not just
Yeah.
in the West Bank because I think you and I were in Gezer.
We were in Telgezer. Yeah. We were
Yeah,
in the Gezer area.
there was
Yeah.
a USAID sign there as well, but the yoking of
Yeah.
of the signage is they all say they're for building projects, funded by USAID, and there is no building project there. It's just funded. It funded is the key word on that sign,
You
and nobody knows what the funding is for or where the funding.
Thank you.
Yes, so yeah,
This is the problem when you're not represented properly, no matter where you are. We are looking back at how God used money in the very beginning. I thought it was really great that you brought up Abraham in Genesis on how, money was transacted. That's the beginning, how we paid for things. And then the tax that you brought up, a good thing about the taxation in the temple in order to be able to run it daily.
yeah, because
So
I've been watching money from a very early age. I
I
was
was
sharing
gonna
with
say,
Robin this past week. I was like, my granddad, when I was little in the single digits, he had a furniture store, used furniture. We were like dirt poor growing up forever. Anyway, so he had a furniture store where they actually collected cash, and my job was to go through and pull out the copper pennies, the silver dollars, the silver half dollars, the silver quarters, anything that actually had value. I mean, he would say that these are worth something. The others are just fake money. So, fast forward a little bit. So I go to college finance in the early 80s and CPA, start businesses and all of the businesses that I began revolve around the money system. So, my history is just intrigue with how the money system works. And I love how she's bringing up, Caroline Levitt is bringing up that it's the system, it's the money system that causes the waste, fraud, and abuse because the money system is rigged, so to speak, to be against us Which if you're watching any of my posts, I'm like, inflation is a tax. Don't be fooled. I mean, you are so burdened
Mhm.
by what has gone before. I can't help it. I had to say it. But now you're
Where,
being
where was it
unburdened.
done before?
But now you're being unburdened by that with this new administration who absolutely knows how the money system works. And Robin and I have kind of been connecting the dots. We're like, oh, money coming in, this money that's coming in, and Trump keeps talking about it. If I can just go ahead and say his name,
Absolutely.
he keeps talking about, we're going to bring 500 billion in here. We're going to bring, 1 trillion in here with this technology. And I was like, okay, note to self, that's infrastructure building, but it's money from a foreign source, pretty much, So wow, and then this other comment about, well, the Federal Reserve, and I was like, wow, and then this other comment about the shutting down of this spending, this reeling in of expenses, and I'm like, wow, okay, so let's connect all of the dots very quickly as to what this is saying. You cannot increase the money supply. I just make it really simple. Well, let me go back to just a little bit of history first so you can
Yeah.
catch up to what the money supply is.
Do
So
it for me.
rapid history. You've got the Sumerians who have sheep and goats. It's the beginning of civilization in around the, 5,000 to 6,000 BC time. And they start creating over time, they start creating these little bulai because they want to do trade. They want to trade their sheep and goats. They want to trade their crops because civilization is really starting around this time, but they don't want to carry the sheep and goats with them, so they trade. I've got a token that represents 12 sheep, and you've got a token that represents 12 goats, and the value is about the same. So we'll just trade tokens, and now you have my sheep and my goats, and and I have your goats, whatever. I mean, you get how tokens work on a barter system. But what if you didn't want goats, in exchange for something? You wanted something else for that. So let's go thousands of years later, and the Greeks are going to produce a coin, and randomly they're going to say the coin is going to be made out of this rare earth mineral called silver, or it's going to be a rare earth mineral called gold. Why did they pick that? I don't know. It could have been anything.
Yeah.
It could have been, it's something non-perishable. So it could have been a diamond, or it could have been I mean, you see women wearing stones, precious stones as well. So those had trade value, but you could buy anything with them at an agreed upon trade price between the people. So you get what I'm saying. If I want a dress and you don't have a dress, but you have something of value, you have shoes that are something of value, and neither one of us want what each other has, I can just give the coin in value. So you made me a dress, I made you some shoes, and we just traded the coin instead of, whatever. Anyway, so the Greeks create this, and then we start trading in coin. Well, then you get down to the US system, right? That's the beginning of the US banking system. We have all of these states, they're producing their own coin. And then they start producing receipts, going back to the Sumerians, these receipts, kind of like checks or dollar bills. Can you remember the Confederate bills? They had this paper money
Mhm.
that represented. You don't want to carry your gold and silver, especially if you have a lot of it. Your pants are heavy, or you're subject to robbers. So you put it in this storage facility, and they give you a receipt for it, and you carry the receipt around, and that says that I have so much money in the storage facility. So in 1910, Robin knows this really well, a group of individuals that knew how the banking system worked came together and said, we could probably make a lot more money, because the banks were charging a fee for storage, right? Basically interest. And then they started loaning out your money, mostly not to your knowledge. They started loaning out the money that you had in their reserve to other people. So when you came in to get your money and they didn't have it, they'd have to borrow it from someone else. It gets really convoluted, but the chaos is
Money.
how they made the magic.
Mhm.
It's how the magic begins around 1910, when these
1913, yeah.
when these large families come together in the United States. They met at Jekyll Island in the South, and they said, you know what we could do is we could start getting a collection of these reserve facilities and share money with each other and make money off the interest. So here's the sleight of hand on this. So say you're going to buy a house and you go to the bank and you're like, okay, I will pay you so much interest on this house. And the bank gives you money. I've put my money in the bank, right? So the bank gives that house borrower person my money, and they're paying me. Let's use real tangible. So you're borrowing money from the bank at 10% interest. You're paying the bank 10% interest. The bank is giving you my money and paying me 5% interest. The bank is making a transaction fee of 5% interest for itself for doing that, loaning my money. But what if I came to the bank and said, I want my money? You've already given it to somebody else, right? So they came up with this, we have a problem because the banks only make money off of lending. They don't make money off of deposits.
Right. Or cash. In other words, like if I want to buy a house, you know, I both talked about this. By God's grace, we pay cash. For a car, we pay cash. They want to try and get you
Yeah,
in
we'll give you
the
$1,000 discount on your
yeah.
car if you'll finance it. Why? Because
Yeah,
so much
exactly.
if we could just understand that the banks make money off of lending, and how do they get more money for lending if there's not enough money out there in circulation for people to put in the bank? When the savings deposits go down, how do they make? So they created in 1910, that this is where the brainchild comes in. We could just print more money. We could print more money so that we could lend more money so that we could make more money. And none of it was backed by anything tangible anymore. There were no assets in the bank. So this is how the US dollar system works now. Very simplistically, there's lots of other aspects to it, but very simplistically, every dollar is backed by debt. None of it is backed by anything tangible like a goat or a sheep or a dress or a pair of shoes or silver or gold. None of it anymore. None of it anymore. So how do they keep giving away this money to all of these places? How did USAID, let's just take one government entity, there are so many others, give away all of that money? The Federal Reserve printed it, which is not a government agency. They printed it, they gave it to the US government, and then the US government sent it out, and the bank is making money off of it, and the US government gets whatever they want. And the two work hand in hand. The government and the Federal Reserve work hand in hand on this creation of debt. And at some point, it all comes crashing down. And the guarantee, this is the
Good word.
this is the hidden magic. The guarantee behind that giving of money, behind what adds value to the cash, is the knowledge that the United States citizens will pay the debt. They are the ones who are guaranteeing the debt. And you hear people
Your hard-earned money. Yeah.
you hear people simplistically saying this, that's my money that they're giving away. Yes and no, but you do catch on. You caught on very quickly to what the government has been trying to hide from you, that you are responsible for their debt, and that inflation, what a lot of people are calling increase in prices, is this increase. It's actually an increase in the money supply. It's a devaluation of your dollar more than it is an increase, an inflation in the price of goods. And you're on the hook for that. You're going to have to pay that. It's going to be hard. It's really going to be hard, Robin, to come out of that. And I think that when we start looking at it biblically, like you said, you know, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, it all talks about this money exchange. You know, you will pay it for money. You know, he paid money, like Abraham paid money to the Hittites to purchase the cave.
He purchased the land that he and Lot
Right.
were.
For and it's really specific for money. He didn't trade sheep and goats. He did it
Right.
for money. So there is a monetary supply, which is
Mhm.
obvious. If I can just throw it out here without people being upset about it, that if you're looking at Abraham being in the 2000s, there was a money supply in the 2000s. And when we get to the destruction of the temple in 586, we're already on a silver and gold coinage exchange at that time. And the same thing is happening here in Mark 11. If we can just go to it very quickly, where
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, where Jesus is talking about the money exchangers and the temple, because the exact same thing is happening today that happened then, and he's calling it out. And it's almost the wording is so profound. So
Profound and prophetic as to where we are right now.
yeah, it's crazy.
Mark 11, starting at verse 15.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, so Jesus has already made his triumphal entry, right, riding on a donkey, and his disciples are going into the fig tree has already been withered at Bethany. They're asking him all about what is this fig tree thing, and then on the following day they're going to come from Bethany. They're going to go into Jerusalem, and the disciples came to Jerusalem, verse 15, and he, Jesus, entered the temple and began to drive out those who sold and those who bought in the temple. So what's happening here is there's a temple sacrificial system, goats, doves, sheep, all sorts of things. So if you couldn't afford one, you would buy the other. You would buy the other because the temple had this purity
Right.
code. And one of the things that they were doing was like, oh yeah, blemish on the lamb, and maybe your
You got
lamb
to
got
buy from us.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe your lamb got hurt on the way or something, and you showed up at the temple and you didn't have the right sacrifice. I just happen to have a pure lamb right
I
here.
have
You
something
can buy
right
it
here.
1995, on sale right now. I mean, this
Right.
is the kind of thing that was going on. So those who bought and sold in the temple, and then Jesus overturned the tables of the money changers. So what this is talking about is um, the temple was supposed to take shekels, and half shekels for the temple tax. When you came to the temple, you had to, think Leviticus and Numbers. Just go check it out. So they were the money system was corrupt. So the silver in a shekel was not as valuable as the silver that was in a Tyrian drachma. So they were exchanging the funds, going, okay, we're only going to take a drachma. It has more silver in it. It's pure. It's more, uh, you know, what do they call that? Weights and
Or
measure.
weight. It
Yeah,
has more weight.
it it
And
has,
the other thing,
it has more accurate weights.
yeah, there was a corruption too in the attitude. See, Jesus not only saw what they were doing, but it was a corruption of attitude within, because he goes on to tell them why. This is
Yeah,
a house of prayer.
yeah.
In other
And
words, you're corrupting.
yes, you are taking advantage. You are taking advantage of unknowing people. All they wanted to do was come to the temple and worship, and you're making them jump through all of these hoops to get to me. That is so big. So he comes and he says he overturned the tables and the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. Pigeons were for the very, very, very poor. When you get into Deuteronomy, even it's talking about lending to the poor. You don't charge them interest. You give to the poor, not expecting to receive in return, because this is the poor. These are your brothers. These are poor. You don't like crush the already crushed. So he's bringing this up. Talk about, I mean, Carolyn Levitt.
I think
Got
AC
succinct words just like Jesus.
yeah, well, and I keep going because I'm going to bring that up as well. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
And Jesus would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. So all of these things are going on. It is just, if you can get the visual of utter chaos
Oh yeah.
in
I
this.
mean, pigeons flying around, feathers going everywhere, coats going.
And then it says, what was he doing? He was teaching them and saying to them, is it not written, my house shall be called a house of prayer. This is Isaiah 56:7 and Jeremiah 7:11. My house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations. Everyone should be able to come here. He's not talking about the inner courts, he's talking about the outer courts. But you have made it what? A den of robbers. The tainted money system that they had at that time on every level, on free trade, on coinage, on receipts, on everything was built around this robbery. And it says the chief priests and the scribes who
This is
are
the key.
charge
This
of
is
the
the
temple,
key.
who in
Yeah.
charge of the money system, in charge of temple operations, heard it. And what were they doing? They were seeking a way to destroy him because he was exposing what they were doing, and he was calling it out. And the reason that they sought to destroy him is because they feared him, because all the crowd, the whole crowd was astonished at what he was saying. I was like, man, does that not describe
That does sound like
yesterday?
something very familiar right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when
Well,
evening came, they all went out of the city. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so please read that section, because I think it also gets your mindset to understand where we are right now. The Federal Reserve is not the good guy.
No.
It's not the good guy. They are the usuries. They are the ones
Yeah.
that don't want to expose what's been going on with the money here in
Yeah.
our
Scribes and Pharisees.
world, actually.
Yeah.
And they are a global entity. They are people that do not care about you. They
Yeah.
care about themselves, never have.
And they have an
And
agenda. Mm-hmm.
they have an agenda. They have the attitude that we are talking about in here is corrupt.
Yes.
It's a corrupt attitude. And the American people uh, are getting, unfortunately, they're waking up to the realization that the money that they've worked hard for, all of us,
Yeah.
has gone to entities they had no idea
Yeah.
went there.
And it's the system that has allowed it to happen, which is what I'm trying to explain when it comes to money. If you were on a legit system that was based on honest trade,
Yeah.
this would not be allowed to happen. It wouldn't, all these little pet projects that everybody has going on, you would not be able to taint the money supply, which is what they would do. They would clip the silver off, and then they'd have enough clippings where they'd make a new coin, and therefore they just enrich themselves on the backs of the poorest of poor, the pigeon people, the poorest of poor. They were taking advantage of.
The very people who are supposedly to represent them, the
Right.
Pharisees, Sadducees,
That
these
you were,
people
yeah,
were
that by
supposed to
law they were supposed
be
to protect.
oppressed.
Mhm.
Exactly. And God shows us the very thing, the Samaritan on the beaten up man, the Samaritan was the one who actually did the right thing.
Right.
It's showing us over and over and over and over again. Sometimes you have to use a Samaritan to expose the very corrupt nature
Right.
of the religious.
Because it was the priests that were walking by him, the scribes, the Pharisees, the priests that were walking by, the ones that were charged.
Representing, charged to go ahead.
Yeah, charged to represent the king, in the kingdom. It's just infuriating, I guess, that for me personally, that we fell for it again, because the tools of the enemy really don't change that often. We just fail to recognize them.
Well, we get apathetic.
Yeah.
I think that we, because in all of us, our goodness is as filthy rags.
Yeah.
We need the righteousness of
Dude.
Christ to open up our hearts and minds to the depth of depravity that we see around us, the system. The systems that we are the systems of our King, or are they the systems of Satan?
Yeah.
And the truth
Sometimes
is,
we forget that because he is the thief. He comes to steal
kill and
and
destroy.
destroy. And
Yeah.
we forget where we are, I think. We're in the territory of steal, kill, and destroy, and he targets the weak. And and that weak could be mental weakness, it could be physical weakness, it could be any, financial weakness, it could be any kind of weakness. And we're charged to protect our family, our brothers and sisters from this, and speak the truth, which I just feel compelled to say, look, this is the way the money system works, and you've got to know how money works, and you've got to understand where you're being robbed. And we should have said when inflation hit, which of course we were being censored from speech, but when inflation hit and everybody was like, the prices are high, the prices are high, someone should have come out and said, what is the Fed doing printing money? Because that's the only reason that prices would have gone up. Was that somebody was out there printing money?
It's purging people's wallet so that they have less
Yeah.
to be able to buy goods and services. I think the important thing is that I believe there is a return to understanding how money works.
Yeah.
Because you're telling people right now how this actually happens. And we have education, and it ruffles my feathers to even talk that we have education. I think we've had indoctrination for the last 20 some odd years, maybe even more than 40, 50 years. And it was a slow seep into people's minds how things are supposed to be. Like doctors, you're just supposed to do what they tell you to do, as opposed to what?
Yeah, trust me, trust me, trust me.
I'm going, why are you the authoritarian over me, over my body? You're not.
And why don't you trust me?
You, exactly. If I need you, I'll go to you. If I don't, I won't.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you bring up, Robin, because we're in the land of steal, kill, and destroy. But yet, me personally, and I know a lot of people do too, they feel guilty when they're accused of why don't you trust me? Surely you trust me. No, I don't, because I'm in the land of steal, kill, and destroy.
If we just understood that, because it is so. When we think about representation, taxation without representation, which was the colonists' problem, that they're trying to rule us from England and put a tax on us, a stamp tax. And it's like, you don't represent me.
Right. They didn't represent their belief systems either, because they were
exactly.
Yeah. They were like, no, we are the Church of England and we can, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, we want freedom of, expression on,
and the idea that thankfully, you had Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, I forget, and Adams, who basically said, this is not truly, that's treasonous.
Yeah, it's not representative of us. Yeah, you aren't.
What do you think living under right now? We've been living in a treasonous society.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that from my heart, just based on what we should have had was representation.
Yeah.
That means your voice, whether there's a local representation or a larger representation, your voice needs to be heard.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. And your voice matters.
Yeah.
And don't
whatever your voice does. Yeah. Whatever your voice
speak. Yeah.
And I think that you bring this up too about representation, because how many of us have said, my representative doesn't represent me or my neighbor or my other neighbor, and this censorship to keep us quiet, away from each other.
Tells you that's treasonous right there, because your voice should be able to go
and speak
to that person. There should be an open door and respectfully go and share that this is not right.
Yeah.
This is why it's not right.
Yeah.
I just believe the apathy of people have said, well, it's not going to happen anyway. So blah,
Yeah, I
blah, blah.
can't make a difference. Yeah, that's a big thing where I live. I can't make a difference. I'm just one person. Yeah, but what if the one person found the other zillion million people and they all were thinking the same thing, but nobody was saying anything? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I witnessed this with not to pick on Texas, but since we're both from Texas,
Yeah.
and we shared with some friends of ours what Dan Crenshaw said, and they were like, wow, that's not the guy that I thought he was. And I was like, yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting when you actually have the information and the actual words, not hearsay, not gossip or whatever. You're just actually able to share truth-filled information, how it changes the hearts and minds, even like John
And
Cornyn,
his own words.
his own
His own.
words. He said it, and they were like, wow,
Mhm.
what a vile, obnoxious, horrible person. Yeah, well, okay, that's the beginning of it, and now let's look at what he's and how is he representing you and your voice and your ideas. He's not representing me at all. And John Cornyn, people were
Oh,
surprised at some of the stuff that he said too. And I was like, come on, Texas, clean it up, and then the Senate by some kind of, or the House, I think it was, by some kind of sleight of hands went Democrat in a mostly Republican state. How does that happen? Yeah, well, you were hoodwinked because of
the
this
things are
steal,
elected in
kill, and
respect.
destroy. Steal, kill, and destroy. The same thing is happening here in Massachusetts. More and more people are saying, I didn't vote for Ed Markey or Elizabeth Warren. Those two people are crazy nuts. They don't represent us at all, which is what I hear you saying.
Mhm.
And they keep adding taxes because they have a super majority here. They voted themselves in through cheating, is my contention. And now they have a super majority and they're just increasing taxes and taxes and taxes and tax. We pay more than 50% of anything that we earn, which gets me to my last point of the money system.
Right.
We pay more than 50% of what we earn into the state and federal coffers, and most of it goes to the state. And that's because that is what the system was designed to do, to create you as an indentured servant that would keep creating the wealth in their coffers that's going to this, if we can call it what it is, it's a cartel that controls the money supply. And in the last few days, which is why I have just been glued to these confirmation hearings, the actual hearings, because you can hear the senators are mostly speaking. They aren't asking their nominee a question. They're mostly speaking. And you can hear their heart, and you can hear that they are part of this money cartel out there to hold you as an indentured servant, which is what Jesus is talking about in the book of Mark, that the temple system had become that to the people, oppressive to the people. The people could not live, breathe, or have their being because the steal, kill, and destroy people were hovering over them. I find today horrific. So, positive note, Robin, how are we getting out of this?
We're going to get out of it because with every society that has gone through the overturning of darkness, which is what Jesus did. He destroyed a corrupt system
Yeah, system.
that had gone on too long. And I find it, here is the triumphal entry where Hosanna, Hosanna, kind of moment. And then he goes in to the place where he's going to make statements.
Yeah. Try
Destroys them. But what happens? The very
we're going to fix the system.
That's
We're going
right.
to overthrow the system that is causing the oppression and set you free.
I believe that's what's about to happen.
love
And
it.
you know what, folks, our ancestors, our grandparents, they had to go through some difficult times, but they came out of it. And I believe with prayer, with being awake to all of this, doing your own research and understanding, go do some of that, connecting the dots that Dana was talking about, and really understand what God is trying to show you. God will show you things that you never even thought. Just allow him to show you. Just say, God, you know what? I need to see some things. What do I need to see
Yeah.
about that I need to look into and reconstruct?
Yeah.
And healthy, being healthy.
Mhm.
Just simple things in your own life. What my husband and I are trying to get healthy. He outperforms me in a huge way. He goes
That
to
could
walk
be
every day. He was
controversial.
out in that freezing weather, walking walking the dog, doing stuff, and he's and we're eating better. Dana got me very aware of those things when she started on her own health journey,
Yeah.
getting well, eating properly. We were on a road trip, Harry and I, and you called and you said, Robin, I lost 60 pounds.
Yeah, yeah, because we want to age well, and this thing about being good stewards of what you've been given. You've been given a house for the
Yeah.
Spirit of God, and if we just
This
start,
is the temple God's talking about.
right, if we just start thinking of it like that, what am I putting into my vessel,
Vessel, yeah.
so that God could be well represented
Mhm.
to this world around. I just, yeah, yeah. That change of mindset was, oh wait, I've got a responsibility to take care of this body that God's given me, and to be a good steward of the funds that He's given me. And this is the crushing point for me of every time they come out with spending. I was like, that was just not good stewardship. Lord, forgive us for squandering this great wealth that you've given us. Forgive us for falling for this lie. And can I just like give a shout out to Trump, because I've been watching again. I want to say I've been watching some of the implementations of things that he's done, and one of them. So knowledge can be, fearful power as well. But so 1929 stock market crash, the main reason that it happened was because the Federal Reserve kept printing money when nobody was buying the debt. So we had an oversupply of cash, and it basically,
Manipulation. Yeah.
everything came crashing down. Well, the stopping the spending and the you like cutting these agencies off, like just chopping the head off, and getting rid of
Right.
the printing press of the Janet Yellen, who was, obviously with her cronies in Congress, printing, and then they were just printing. They weren't even going through Congress. Is like, I don't even know who can. Do you remember this? Who can declare a war? Why are we sending so much money to this country and Congress doesn't even know anything about it? So, I mean, that's how bad the system had gotten. So, cutting all of that off is the biggest prevention effort of another Great Depression. I mean, can
He
we?
did
That
something miraculous. He did.
miraculous. I posted that yesterday on Twitter. I was like, can someone just give a shout out for the miraculous that's happening here?
Yeah. And
I just,
I really do believe that in answer to prayer,
yeah,
that for the meek and the humble who
yeah.
have been oppressed and really hurt by, I mean, I think of the widows, the widows that have been hurt
Yeah, the
by,
fixed income people. Oh my gosh. I don't even know how they're able to do it.
but I believe God has done a greater work than we've even seen yet.
Yeah.
And he's working behind so many people, whether you like them or not. I do believe God can use, as one guy said, if God can use David, he can use anybody. So, and he was a man after God's heart. But if you really study the man David,
Yeah.
King David, you would go, what? We have to realize God uses people,
Mhm.
uses the scared like Gideon, uses so many of us, doing it afraid sometimes, but doing it. and God gets the glory at the end of the day.
Yeah, he does.
And
Yeah.
we want to give him the glory for showing us things right now, and to pray, to seek his face and to pray for our leaders right now, to
Yes.
do the will, his will, and to walk in fervent prayer. And for us, like we were talking about our health, it's not a God. It's just the reality that I believe the church has been very unhealthy.
Yeah.
Allowed it.
Yeah, we've been negligent for sure on what we have been charged to be and do, which is, unfortunate. I do know, I think it was yesterday or the day before you and I were talking about, I have zero control over all of these things that they're talking about. But now that I know how the system is working and where we're headed of removing the system, then I can respond better in my personal life. And I'm telling you, I spend more time in my attic in fervent prayer for these people because a lot of it I have no control over. I haven't been put in that place. I'm not a 20-year-old programmer in a department called Doge, that's writing AI script to figure out where all the waste, fraud, and abuse is. I'm not that person, but can I pray for that kid? Oh my gosh, yes. And can I pray for it to be done swiftly, like Jesus overturning the tables in the temple? Yes. Yes, to shut down the system, first of all, and then to rebuild the system, which is exactly what happens in Mark 11. I encourage you. Mark 11 encouraged me. Of course, there's Luke. No, it's Matthew. I think it's Matthew 21, but Mark 11 is the more.
Can I just read this passage in Mark 11 to close us out?
Yeah,
Because I think that this is so important for the believer. Like
yeah.
Dana and I. Dana was humble, but she ran her own company.
Oh yeah, no, it was
I
all about money.
I'm
Yeah.
serious when I say God has used this woman multiple times. But here I am in 22 of Mark 11. Then Jesus said to the disciples, "Have faith in God.
Yep.
I tell you the truth. You can say to this mountain, may
Right.
you be lifted up and thrown into the sea, and it will happen. But you must really believe it will happen and have no doubt in your heart. I tell you, you can pray for anything. And if you believe that you've received it, it will be yours. But when you are praying first, this is a really key element to prayer. Forgive.
Yeah.
First, forgive anyone you are holding a grudge against, so that your Father in heaven will forgive your sins too. And we have the ability through prayer. As Dana said, I might not be able to control this situation. None of these things can we control except that which God has given us to oversee. And as you said so well, be a good steward of. And God wants us to pray. God wants us to move those obstacles, those mountains in our life. He wants us to be able to see our way through it.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting that you're bringing this up. If I can just interject here quickly, the mountain that was moved. If you go to Israel, you'll see it very clearly. What he's talking about here was Herod actually moved a mountain at this time. He actually moved it and created his own kingdom. At the Herodian is
really good,
a moved mountain, and you can say to this mountain, this created kingdom, this created system. I think that's why he's saying this here. This created system to be gone, to be destroyed, and these are my prayers.
Basically.
Right. These are my prayers, and I pray. I ask. I don't want to use the word pray there in two different forms, but I ask that we all just join together on this, that we be successful in destroying this system that is so abusive to the widows and the orphans and the weak. And it's so, let's just use the word predatory. It's so predatory on us and on the world. And we talk about sending rice and beans to Africa. If we could just control the beast of the system that is so fraudulent, the things that we thought the good deeds that we thought we were doing around the world being exposed as selfish and harmful and cruel. um, I pray against that system. I pray that that system, that mountain be removed.
Yes. Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said better. Well, I'm Robin.
I'm Dana.
This has been the Robin and Dana Talk Real Show. God bless you all, and just keep praying. Keep praying that the Lord will show you what you need to see in your families. We are each day we challenge each other, and I'm so grateful to have somebody that I can be honest with and truthful with, and she'll tell me the truth. And I'm
And
grateful.
back at me.
God above all will tell us the truth. So go to his word and he will show you. He'll meet you right there. So God bless you all. Have a great day.
Bye.